Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. Leo Tang here for week number 3 of our Team World Vision video cast. Before I introduce my guest, just wanted to cover off some homework. We've got the half marathoners running in Toronto, running 11 kilometers as part of the long run this weekend. And if you're running the full at Toronto, you're covering 24 kilometers. And for the Chicago folks, it's 25 and a half kilometers. Yeah, the distances are getting up there, but we just have some nice weather to be able to get out there and enjoy these long distances. We missed last week's group runs. Both Ed and I were away, but we are back now this week. So we'll see you on Saturday at both the locations, one in Toronto and the one in Hamilton. Want to also put it on your calendar that on Friday, October 14th, we will have our pre-race dinners. Friday, October 14th at 6 o'clock, and we're going to have it here at World Vision's headquarters, which is One World Drive, Mississauga. More details to follow, but I just wanted to have you guys put that on your calendar to block it off. Also wanted to give you guys a reminder that if you go to teamworldvision.ca, excuse me, /Toronto, again, teamworldvision.ca /Toronto, there are a bunch of resources on that page, both in terms of training as well as fundraising that we'd love for you to have a look at. Speaking of fundraising resources, I'd like to introduce you to Caitlin Kay. Caitlin is an employee here at World Vision, but more importantly, she ran the Boston Marathon earlier this year and also fundraised over $5,000. So we wanted to have Caitlin just to share some of her experiences, share some of the insight really, and how she did so well in fundraising and reaching the superhero level. Caitlin, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Hey, can you just share a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I've been a runner my whole life. I've run 3 marathons now and 2 half marathons, and then I also did Around the Bay 2 or 3 years ago. I can't quite remember. So a 30K run. And
when you did Boston this year, was that the very first time that you actually raced and fundraised at the same time?
It was. It was my very first fundraising dual training that I've ever done. So it was exciting, you know. It's my first Boston, first fundraising experience. So there are a lot of firsts in there.
So being your first time doing that, it must have been a little bit nerve-wracking. You know, how do you set your goal? How do you go about achieving that goal? Mm-hmm. Can you share a little bit about what you were feeling?
Yeah. In terms of, so I set up a fairly ambitious goal, both from a time perspective and a financial perspective for fundraising. But my mentality is kind of, you know, you're already going big with the marathon. You know, with the fundraising goal, you might as well go big or go home. So that was kind of my mentality with it. So I set a goal of 4,000. And I didn't feel really nervous about it just because I really felt that I could get it. I could get there, you know? So that's kind of my thought process behind setting my goals.
And not only did you get there, but you actually exceeded it by 1,000. You reached 5,000.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
What was your very first step?
My very first step was kind of embarrassing. So I mean, obviously the first step is you create your fundraising page, and then I imported my contacts from my Gmail, which is a very simple process. But my embarrassing moment comes is that I was asking my aunt and uncle about to fundraise and to donate to my page. And so I wrote this little email saying, "Dear Aunt Jean and Uncle Len." And then by accident, I had sent it to my entire contact list. So that included people like old university professors, my parents' friends. So embarrassing. But it kind of got the ball rolling, because then people would email me back and they'd be like, "Why are you emailing me about your aunt and uncle?" And so then it kind of started that conversation. So I wouldn't recommend starting that way, but it was kind of a humorous way to begin the conversation about me fundraising.
And after that initial email, you got some initial donations.
Yep.
How did you keep up the momentum? What was next?
Yeah, you know, I didn't find keeping up the momentum was that difficult, especially once you kind of got those initial donations in. And once you got kind of over the awkwardness of asking for money, that was definitely awkward at first. But once you get over that and you kind of get over that fear, I found it wasn't that difficult to keep the ball rolling. So yeah, it's definitely getting over the awkwardness and getting the first few donations in.
So it's a mindset shift
that
one has to overcome.
Yeah.
And we talked about the whole mindset of fundraising in our first video. And yeah, if you look at it not so much as asking people for money or begging people for money, but rather inviting them into this journey that you're passionate about, it completely changes the equation. Was there anything that you did to thank your donors?
Yes, I had a very elaborate thank you process, which I would not necessarily recommend doing. When I got the first couple donations in, I was so excited and I was so grateful that people were willing to support me. So I went to Walmart and I printed off these photos of children drinking clean water, and I had these printouts of what World Vision actually does with the money, and then I hand wrote notes, and then I actually mailed the package to them. And you know, when I had 10 donors, it was fun. And then when I had 200 donors and I'm handwriting every single card, mailing every single card, I got a little elaborate. So I would definitely recommend thanking your donors, but maybe don't go to the extent that I did.
Good point.
Yes.
Good point. Was there anything in the process that surprised you?
I think what sort of, I don't know if surprise would be the right word, but reiterated over the whole experience was how much people want to see you succeed and how much people are willing to donate to you and are generous. You know, both from a encouragement perspective for my training as well as the fundraising, people were incredibly encouraging, incredibly donors. And just, you know what, when I got to the 4,000 mark, it was actually my team here at World Vision, my work team, that said, you know what, if you got to 4,000, we can make 5,000. And they got kind of on board with it and they got excited about it. So that was kind of something that was really great, really encouraging. It just brought the whole process together for me.
Beautiful. Hey, Caitlin, thanks again for your wonderful fundraising success, for reaching the superhero level, and for sharing some of your insight with the folks that are viewing the video. Again, just want to remind you guys, remember the first step that I talked about was to create your list of connections, a list of contacts. And the very second thing is to create your story, you know, why it is that you're doing what you're doing. And then thirdly, which is where the step we're at now, is start getting those invites out. Invites for coffee to have a conversation. Maybe it's a text message, maybe it's an email, whatever is appropriate for you. I just encourage you to start that process. We are not too far away from race day, believe it or not. So I just want to get you guys ahead of the curve in terms of fundraising as well. Until then, again, I just want to reiterate that we have tons of resources on teamworldvision.ca/Toronto. Just go to the resources link there and you'll get a bunch more ideas around fundraising as well as training. Until then, Leo Tang signing off with Caitlin, and we'll look forward to seeing you this Saturday at the group runs. God bless.